You do know what 420 means, right? Yeah, it's code for adults who still watch cartoons. Get it, guys? Because adults who watch cartoons are losers and lame. Everyone knows that cartoons are only for kids. That's what Uncle Walt brainwashed us into thinking. Cartoons are only for kids, and adults who watch them are losers. Isn't that funny, guys? Isn't that funny? Laugh! Laugh, guys! It's so funny, guys! It's so funny! Laugh! 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 Walt Disney is the reason why animation is largely considered a joke within the industry. Walt Disney is the reason why the animation is only for kids stereotype exists. I don't know how I'm the only person in the world that has realized this. The only person that has come to this conclusion. But I don't care. It needs to be said. It needs to be said. Disney is the reason why animation is largely considered a joke. Everyone always criticizes the whole cartoons are for kids stereotype, but nobody actually takes the time to think, like, why does it exist in the first place? Nobody takes the time to think, like, who started it, you know? And the answer is so obvious. The answer is right there in front of our eyes. It's so obvious, guys. It's so obvious. Animation is dead. Okay? Animation is dead. Animation as an art form is dead. I don't even care. We can try our hardest. It doesn't matter. The general public will always view animation as just this dumb thing for kids, and we cannot do anything about it. We just cannot do anything about it. The current state of animation genuinely frustrates me, and today we're going to be talking about that, while also talking about how Disney is responsible for all of this. Because I swear, I cannot be the only one that legitimately thinks this. Alright, animation is largely considered a joke in the industry, and it genuinely annoys me. Alright, if Citizen Kane, if, you know, the alleged greatest movie ever made, if Citizen Kane was an animated movie, nobody would care about it. Nobody would consider it the greatest movie ever made. Nobody would care about it. Think of all the geniuses, like all of the greats in cinema, you know, Kubrick, Scorsese, Tarantino, you know. Do you think anyone's going to care about any of them if they made animated movies? Imagine if Stanley Kubrick made animated movies. Imagine an alternate world where every Stanley Kubrick movie is an animated movie. You know, 2001: A Space Odyssey, A Clockwork Orange, Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, Full Metal Jacket, The Shining. Nobody would care about any of these movies if they were animated. They would be exactly the same. The only difference is that they're animated. The storyline could be the exact same. The actors would be the same. I mean, yeah, they'd be voice acting the characters and not, like, you know, acting as them, but they'd still be there. And it wouldn't matter. It would still get ignored just because it's animated. And that's it. Nobody would care about any of them if they were animated. You know, I say this as an MCU fan, but it genuinely frustrates me how when someone says Marvel movies aren't real cinema, they're the f***ing Antichrist, and everyone hates them and they're awful and whatever. When someone says animation is only for kids, nobody cares. Like, there's just crickets, and that's it. Like, as if it's just this universally agreed fact and nothing else. Like, it genuinely doesn't make any sense. There's no way that people are gonna prioritize the MCU over animation. I'm sorry. Ignorant people will dismiss animation as an illegitimate art form that's only for kids, and then they'll go on to praise movies like Avatar or Avengers or whatever. Movies that are 99% CGI, and it genuinely doesn't make any sense. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that have been going on with animation for the last few months, and I'm going to be talking about how Disney is ruined this art form. Because I swear, like, this isn't going to be your average Disney bad video. Alright, this is going to be something deeper than that. There's a lot of reasons people have to hate Disney. Most of them are stupid reasons. This is probably the most valid reason anyone could hate Disney, okay? It doesn't get any more valid and correct than this. So today we're going to be talking about a lot of the things that's been going on with animation and why it frustrates me that this art form is basically dead, and it's all thanks to a man and his mouse. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe and all that other cool stuff. And let's just get right into it, okay? Let's just get right into it. I'm sure most of you watching this are familiar with Velma, the recent cartoon spin-off of Scooby-Doo, and I'm sure you're familiar with the numerous controversies and such that have come from it. I'm sure all of you watching this have seen at least one video talking about why the show is bad. I myself haven't seen it, I probably will not, and I'm also aware as well that there's a huge discourse regarding hate watching the show. Basically, if you don't know what hate watching is watching something that's bad and you know it's going to be bad, but you decide to watch it anyways. Hate watching, when it comes to Velma, it sparked a huge debate about hate watching because the fear that people had was that if people hate watch Velma, then there's a chance that the show could get renewed for a second season, because like HBO Max and whatever, they'll see like the views that the show's getting. Even though the show has been critically panned by everyone, it's still probably gonna get like good views and stuff from like people that hate watch it just to see how bad it is. And a lot of people are saying like, don't hate watch the show, just let it die, let it get canceled and whatever. My take on this whole thing is, wait until the show gets canceled and then you can hate watch it. I'm surprised no one else has like suggested this. Like, ignore the show. I think like season 1 is complete. I don't know. Season 1 of it has been completed. Like all of the episodes that were ordered, they've been released. So now it remains to be seen if the show will get canceled or if it'll get renewed for a second season. But if it gets canceled, then you can go ahead and hate watch it as much as you want. It's not like they're going to uncancel it or anything like that. And if you don't want to give HBO Max your views or your money or anything like that, well, you can always go and yo ho ho arg me mateys, if you know what I mean. You could always do that. That's always a valid option. And you know, the thing that bothers me with Velma is that it actually, I feel like it had potential. There's nothing wrong with making like a Scooby-Doo cartoon that's drastically different from all the other iterations. Like, it's okay to do that. It's okay to do something different with these characters. It's okay to like, you know, experiment and go like out there with these characters, you know, take these like well-known characters and do something different. I know a lot of people criticize the fact that like Scooby-Doo himself isn't in the show, and I understand that, but at the same time, like, there's nothing really wrong about making like a version of Scooby-Doo that's drastically different from all the other iterations. Like, it's okay to, you know, experiment and do something unique with these characters. It's okay to make a spin-off of a cartoon that's drastically different from like any other iteration of that cartoon, especially if you're making a spin-off of a notoriously formulaic cartoon like Scooby-Doo. Like, this show could have worked. Really, it could have worked. It's okay. Like, they want to make a more adult version of Scooby-Doo. That's perfectly fine. They want to make it drastically different from all the other iterations. That's perfectly fine. The problem comes with the execution. Again, I can't really say all that much about this show because I never watched it. I haven't watched it. I probably never will, honestly. I probably have to watch it, though, because I remember a few years ago, I made this video on this, like, old Fox cartoon, Alan something, and it was meant to be, like, the first episode of a series where I would find, like, the worst cartoon ever made and stuff, and I would, like, watch various bad cartoons and rank them from, like, best to worst, best being, like, least bad, or so bad it's good, stuff like that, and then worst being, like, bottom of the barrel trash, and I only made one episode of it, and it was on that short-lived Fox cartoon. I don't remember the name. So lately, though, just looking at the current state of animation, looking at some of the stuff that's come out, looking at like the huge amount of backlash that Velma has gotten, I kind of want to bring this show back. I kind of want to, like, you know, bring it back and, you know, have it be like a new thing, because I did tease like a second episode, but it never came out. So it's because of Velma that I have now regained interest in an old like series that I wanted to do. So yeah, that's like the only good thing I could say about Velma, really. But alas, Velma is nothing more than proof that animation is dying. A more adult version of Scooby-Doo that's drastically different from all the other iterations could have worked, but the execution is poor. Okay, the execution is very poor. And that's a shame. That is genuinely a shame. At the time of making this video, Velma, I could be wrong on this, I think Velma is the lowest rated cartoon on IMDb with a score of 1.4. It's also one of the lowest rated things on IMDb in general, which is actually insane to think. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because Velma is a huge part. I can't watch the show. I haven't watched the show. I don't have HBO Max. I'm never getting HBO Max for obvious reasons. And that's something that I'm going to clear up later on. I really don't know what I could say about Velma because this is like, I have to stay like on the surface for Velma because I have not watched it. So it's going to be really hard for me to discuss it. So, yeah, let's move on a bit. Let's move on, lads. Let's move on. So there's a problem that's been going on lately regarding animation, most anime shows coming out nowadays. We've been getting way too many revivals and reboots and continuations and whatnot, and there are way too many shows for me to list, so I'm just going to put on screen a list of shows that have either been brought back already in some way, shape, or form, or they are about to be brought back in some way, shape, or form. And then, in addition to that, you also have stuff like the controversial SpongeBob spin-offs and the numerous live-action Disney remakes, as well as apparently Disney and Pixar, they announced Toy Story 5 recently, so all of that is going to definitely add to this problem. And the reason why this is not a good thing is because it just shows that nobody has any like original ideas anymore. Nobody wants to do anything unique. Nobody's like wants to do anything different. Everyone just wants to rehash the old stuff because you know why? Because nostalgia sells. That's why. You know, I remember back in the early 2010s when I was a kid, I would go on the internet and I would constantly see people complaining about how most, you know, modern Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network shows from that time were like garbage and how they wanted the old stuff back. It's like, bring back the old Nickelodeon shows, the new ones are garbage. And I have to wonder, like, where are these people now? Where are these people now that criticize it? Because, well, here's your wish. Here's your f***ing wish. Monkey's Paw strikes you yet again. It's because of these people that we have Powerpuff Girls 2016, as well as that live action Powerpuff Girls show, which I'm pretty sure that's scrapped, but I don't know. It's because of these people that we have that live action Fairly Odd Parents revival or whatever. It's because of these people that we have Teen Titans Go. Yes, the one cartoon that every cartoon YouTuber likes to pretend is an unholy crime against humanity. It exists because of people constantly criticizing the shows that Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network were airing in the early 2010s and how, like, oh, they want the old shows back, bring back the old shows, whatever. Yeah, all of a sudden, Fanboy and Chum Chum and Johnny Test don't seem so bad now, do they? Do they? You know, maybe we should have given these shows a proper chance during the time, you know? Maybe we should have, you know, maybe we were too mean to them, you know? Maybe we should have given them a proper chance. You don't truly appreciate what you got until it's gone, am I right, lads? Am I right? Looking back now, I realize that a lot of cartoons from the late 2000s and early 2010s that a lot of people criticized back then, at least they tried doing something different. Yeah, the execution wasn't like that good, but at least they tried doing something unique, something different. Say what you will about Fanboy and Chum Chum, but for better or worse, there really is no other cartoon like Fanboy and Chum Chum. It truly is a one-of-a-kind, unique show. That doesn't make it good, of course. At best, it's probably a guilty pleasure and nothing more. But at least it does something different. At least I can give it credit for having like original like ideas in it and like for doing something different. Honest to God, I would take Fanboy and Chum Chum any day of the week over the corporate nostalgia cash grabs that Nickelodeon's been focusing on lately. Like, I would honestly prefer Fanboy and Chum Chum and Breadwinners and all that stuff because at least those were original. And the thing as well is that there's nothing wrong with, you know, bringing back these old shows under two conditions. Under two conditions, it's perfectly fine. The first is if you do it via like a movie. Like if you bring back an old show as a movie, then it's perfectly fine. So to give you an idea, you have what I like to call the Nickelodeon Revival Trilogy, which I know that's not a great name, but I can't really think of any. But basically, the Nickelodeon Revival Trilogy consists of Hey Arnold the Jungle Movie, Rocko's Modern Life Static Cling, and Invader Zim Enter the Florpus. And the reason why these work, the reasons why these are exceptions, is because they're just movies and that's it. They're not meant to be like anything more. Like it's not like, oh, they're gonna bring it back now, they're gonna make more like stuff after these movies. It's less of like, hey, we're gonna bring back this show because we want money, and it's more just like, hey, it's just like a, you know, a visit with like some old friends, some old cartoon friends, and see what they've been doing, a new adventure with them. You know, that's the kind of vibe I get from them. That's why it's okay. Like if it's for a movie, then it's fine to bring them back. If it's for a movie, another one as well is if the show that you're bringing back is like was like short lived and like it never got the chance to grow, then it's fine. So like Invader Zim again is another example of this, because Invader Zim was a short lived show and it never got the chance to like fully grow. So that's a good example. And also as well Clone High, because there is a Clone High revival that's being in the works. Like that's another good example, because Clone High never got the chance to grow. It never got the chance to, you know, get really big. It only got like 13 episodes and then it was canceled. So it's a good idea to bring that back. I mean, from what I've heard, apparently there was an episode of the revival that was leaked, and apparently the leaked episode was not very good. So I don't 100% know all the details. I'm just going off of what I've heard. But yeah, that's going to be a bit of a shame if it doesn't end up being good, if the revival ends up not being good. But at least like the idea of a revival, like there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it if it's for like a short-lived show. Like it works because it's for a short-lived show that it didn't last long. It didn't get a chance to grow. So it's perfectly fine. But then on the other hand, it's like, who the was asking for a revival of Rugrats? Who was asking for a revival of King of the Hill? Like, these shows, they had long lifespans. You know, just let them die. Leave them alone. You know, let them rest peacefully. You know, King of the Hill was a great show, but I don't see anyone that was asking for a revival of it. I don't see anyone that was asking for like a new version of it. And then as if that wasn't enough as well, you have Pixar, like animated movies as well, not just cartoons, but animated movies are getting affected by this, especially with Pixar. Like, let me give you a comparison. In the 2000s, Pixar released 7 movies, and all of these 7 movies were original. There was no sequels. They didn't release any sequels in the 2000s. Every movie they released in the 2000s was an original movie. In the 2010s, Pixar released 11 movies, and of these 11 movies, only 4 of them are original. Brave, Inside Out, The Good Dinosaur, and Coco. And that's it. Those are the only original movies that Pixar released in the 2010s. Every other movie that they released in the 2010s was a sequel or a prequel in Monsters University's case. And again, with the recent news of a Toy Story 5 being in the works, it's just like, come on, are you serious? We didn't even need Toy Story 4. Like, why do the franchise ended perfectly with Toy Story 3? This is just getting ridiculous at this point, you know? I have my own problems with Pixar. I know I've always talked about, like, you know, I know at the beginning of the video I was making a big deal about this whole, like, Disney is bad sort of thing, but I have my own problems with Pixar nowadays that I wish to cover in a separate video, so yeah, stay tuned for that. It just generally frustrates me that nobody wants to take it. I mean, obviously there are people that are making like new stuff. People are making like new cartoons and whatever with original ideas, but for the most part it's just these reboots and revivals and remakes and stuff like that, continuations, spin-offs and whatever, and most of them like we don't really need. Like, as I said, like I don't think there is a single human being that wanted a Rugrats revival or a King of the Hill revival. You know, I don't think there was anyone that wanted that. No one wanted SpongeBob spin-offs. This isn't me getting into the whole debate about like, oh, if it's disrespectful to Steven Hillenburg or not. That's not, I don't want to get into that whole debate. The main problems I have with these shows is that there's no reason for them to exist. They just do nothing but further prove that Nickelodeon is like, they just have no new ideas. So they're just bringing back the old stuff they made when they were good. When Nickelodeon isn't milking SpongeBob and Loud House, and when they're not traumatizing their child actors or anything like that, they're just doing this, regurgitating all of the old stuff they made when they were good, because originality and creativity are not needed. Nostalgia sells. It makes money. And that's just a sad truth. The moral of the story is, be careful what you wish for, okay? Think about how you were in the early 2010s when shows like Fanboy and Chum Chum and Johnny Test were around, and how you were like, oh, these shows are bad. I wish they brought back the old shows, you know? Think about it, okay? Think about it. How by wishing for all those old shows, you get stuff like Teen Titans Go and like that live action Fairly Odd Parents show. Like, think about it. Alright? Be careful what you wish for. That's all I'm going to say. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, I'm going to have to cut this video into 2 parts. In the second part, I will talk about how 2 certain streaming services are contributing to the death of animation, and I will also be going into more detail about how Disney ruined this art form. I will be looking at the movies that they've been releasing for the last few years, and I'm going to be comparing them to non-Disney animated movies that we've been getting for the last few years, such as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse or Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and I'm going to be showing off like why everyone else is actually like doing interesting stuff with their movies, while Disney and Pixar continue to just pump out mediocrity. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I will see you all next time. Adios.